Hi, I'm Ted from Everything Attachments, and we're today with our 1216 plow. 1216s mean 12 discs, that's 4 sets of 3, and they're 16 inches in diameter. You can also get it in an 18-inch diameter, would make it a little more aggressive, but it would be harder for like a BX to pull. Depending on your ground, actually sand, even though it's soft, will let the disc bury easy, and the sand's heavy and can actually become harder to pull. But this is the right size disc for the BX. We just had this already ready for the B. It'll work for either because the rear is still going to clear out the tracks. A tiller is the preferred thing for every condition, but sometimes a disc is what you have or need to use for certain reasons, and of course it's a lot less money. Now this is an angle iron disc that we build in the house. None of this is actually angle iron. It comes out of a flat sheet of steel where we bend and press it. Everything has a location hold where everything comes back to an exact measurement. A couple of them have a couple other discs I've seen, like the Lineback that this is sort of like, had 2 sets of holes where theoretically you could change the angle on it, but they're really difficult to change the angle on. Everyone I've ever seen come back into my shop is always, for 40 years, has always been in the most aggressive position. So that's where we just put the holes on this to leave it, make it a one-shot deal, and be done. The thing that's not hardly ever seen on a lightweight disc like this is that it's using the same roller bearings that we use on our bigger discs. It's a gimbal bearing. It will actually let the bearing move inside the housing a little bit on angles as you change things. So this has the same size disc as even our 18, our 2016 disc. That's our big, large angle iron frame. And we form these braces that go down to hold the bearings. We fold them, wrap them, weld them. They're bolted on the inside here to make them really strong, and then they're welded all the way around the corner here. They can be removed if you need to, but we've tried to do everything you could do to just make it the best disc for what you're getting. And for these smaller tractors, we've put the narrower hitch on it. It should be the perfect disc. The thing it's not perfect with is going to be this new sod, and we'll see how it does for the first time. We've done a lot of these videos, but we've never done it with our own equipment. And we could set it up to where we went over it with the tiller, then use the disc, and it would look like the disc is an amazing piece of equipment. But it is what it is, and we're going to show you what it's going to be like for you if you didn't have a tiller. So we're going to see what it may take a couple of passes, but we're going to do half of this with the disc, even if we have to go over it 3 times, and then we'll go over the other half with the tiller. And we'll, same way with these 2 strips, we'll do one with one with the other, and that way you can get a good judge of what you think you need for yourself. Go ahead, Peanut, we'll see how it does. A disc is something that's normally run pretty slow, so it gives it time to do its work. Each row is set opposite angles to make it work against itself, so it chops it up. All right, and I can see I'm going to make the top link a little longer because the front disc are working a lot harder. I'm going to adjust your top link a little longer, let the back down. All right. And it's chopping it up better than I thought it would. And a loader bucket full of something will help you get more weight if you needed it, but if you don't, removing the loader bucket, if you have a quick attach, sure does get rid of a lot of the stuff that you can see around easier to do gardening work. And I think I've taken out too much and put it on the back. Right down. Okay. Come back over this way. So a tiller's not always a one-shot wonder. You can go really slow, you can get it really good, but it seems like when it's a new garden like this, you still go over it at least 2 times, which is no big deal. And we may go over this 3 times, but the advantage of a disc is it only costs 1/3 as much of a tiller. And for some things like a food plot, if you were doing a food plot and you just want to rough up the top to plant a quick grain or something, you don't want to get it real deep with a plow and a tiller so it gets real soft when it rains and the animals and everything. It just makes the ground too soft, too deep. So usually a disc to go over anything for a food plot is better than plowing and rotavating. When I say food plot, I mean like for a deer or something. And it's still got some strips of grass, but it's cutting it. All the strips are in line. So it's getting it nice, it's chopping up that hard grass with all those roots in it. It's going to take 3 or 4 passes, but if you've got a regular sized garden, you know, you're less than 30 minutes, so it's really no big deal. You just do it. There's not a better way that costs less, so that pretty much says it all. Make one more pass and we'll be good. So you can see it's starting to bring up the little stuff now. That's because it's finally got this old red clay, which is pretty clumpy, chewed up, and that's without any other tillage tool in here, no ripping, no tilling, nothing. And so this was newly done 30 minutes ago. So this is ground that we, except for that last row, we did this with the B the other day with the plow on it. He's so far over to the right now that he's on ground that's just where the dirt has been put. It's not actually been plowed under. And depending on your ground, sometimes working it real slow does a better job, and sometimes actually a little more ground speed helps. Just depends on the type of ground you have. Looks like Peanut's going for speed on this run. So I think one more pass on the way back and it'll actually be good enough. And that was ground that hasn't ever been plowed in the last 20 years is about when this was graded and planted. The bad thing is we didn't turn this over in the fall and let the grass rot like we should have, and a garden just keeps getting better and better, and that even looks like an old garden even though it was only 4 days ago just because it's rained on it so much. But this grass would be mostly dead if we had turned it over in the fall. But this is the way I like to get it, is when you can get into this old red hard clay and you can get in here and you can plant with your hands. I mean, we're going to use a planter and there's a lot of things you can plant with, but as long as I can get in here, get 6 or 8 inches deep of this loose red clay, that's plenty good enough to me. The disc harrow has been around forever. They're low maintenance. They're not as expensive to buy. I myself probably would like to have a tiller, but when you have a tiller, you also have to make sure you don't pulverize it too much, because like in this red clay, if you totally pulverize it like sand and it rains and it dries back out, it's going to get hard as concrete, so you don't want to over-till your ground either. That's why sometimes a disc for the type of ground you have may even be a better solution no matter what.